Now, the Water Resources Commission has warned that illegal mining induced pollution of the Bia and Tano rivers are assuming alarming proportions similar to levels that triggered outrage from neighboring Cote d'Ivoire in 2017. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Ben Ampoma, says data available indicate disturbing turbidity levels of the two water bodies. Stakeholders at a two-day transformational dialogue organized by the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani have called for action by the government. Rastos Asare Donko reports.
These footages show a distressed, highly polluted Ofin, Enuru, and Tano rivers in the Ashanti and Western regions. The images drew sharp reactions from MP for Ahafano Southeast, Francis Menu Adabo, representative of the Bono Traditional Council, Nana Kofi Bediako, the Bono Regional Minister, Justina Owusu Banahene, and technical advisor to the Lands Minister, Ben Ayi.
When I see these things, I ask myself, who are behind this? Because we try to fight this cancer and it keeps going up. I can't buy excavator, but the ministers and the MPs, you can do that. So we are saying,
the implication of these artisan miners, and as we saw from the documentary, whether they have permit or they don't have permit, they both have no mercy upon our forests and our water resources.
The critical thing really is we all have kept quiet. Fortunately, if we don't do something about it, it's going to destroy all of us.
The Water Resources Commission says Ghana is getting close to creating a rift with Cote d'Ivoire due to the increasing pollution of the Bia River, which flows through their treatment plants.
2017, our activities upstream with respect to mining polluted the river to the extent that they could not treat the water. So they had to shut down their water supply systems. And that created some, what we hear, upheavals in terms of protests from the communities. And if you look at the turbidity values of the Bia, getting over to the thousands, which means that it has the potential to create that level of pollution where they may find it difficult to treat their waters. And it's our only hope that we can begin to, as it were, address the situation to prevent the situation where we may have that potential, transboundary conflicts.
The two-day dialogue is expected to come out with a communique on fresh solutions in the efficient management of small-scale or artisanal mining in the country. Professor Elvis Asare-Bediako is Vice-Chancellor of the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Sunyani.
The aim of this two-day transformational dialogue, therefore, is to present the opinions of various stakeholders on key issues in order to formulate shared goals and priorities and define the modalities that will enable a sustainable practice of the artisanal small-scale mining in Ghana and Africa.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asare Donko, Bono Region.
Now, Kofi Ajay of our research desk has been looking at the data in terms of how Galamsey has increased turbidity levels of Ghanaian water bodies and joins me live in studio with findings. Kofi, good evening and thanks for coming. Now, first of all, what have we gathered?
Right, Brace. So you remember in 2017 when the president said, he's willing to put his presidency on the line, actually to fight Galamsey. And if you should watch in terms of turbidity levels of our water bodies, just like I mentioned in the Tano River, somewhere in 2017 when Galamsey activities were high, were recording as high as 8,000 turbidity levels. Now, the ordinary pipe-borne water we have in our homes is supposed to be between 1 to 5 NTUs, which is the level of turbidity. And so if you have water from our source being around 8,000 and 11,000 turbidity level, that means that it's really high. Means that, the water companies now would have to put in more chemicals to treat these water bodies. Now, I want to go to the touch screen and show you something briefly. So if you should look here, this is the Volta River. Now I want you to pay particular attention to this. Look at how clear the river is. Okay, so you can see that this river body is not subject to any galamsey activities, and so it's very clear and it's really neat. But if you should compare this to what we have, this is the Tano River, and if I should zoom in, you will see that the water is actually brownish.
Oh, okay.
It's not as probably white as you see in the Volta River, but it is brown in this case, and this is why experts and people are complaining about the high turbidity levels of these water, because if you are recording somewhere around 8,000 and 11,000 levels of turbidity, it requires that the Ghana Water Company would have to put in more chemicals when they are treating.
So that is the Tano River.
Exactly, and look at it. Galamsey activities all over the place. You could see that people have dug around the water bodies, and you could see the level of damage. And let me bring this to your notice that Ghana loses at least 65,000 annually, 65 hectares of our forest lands as a result of galamsey and other activities. And hectares, 65,000. The stadium Blaster is playing right now on is about 1 hectare. So 65,000 hectares every year means that 65,000 stadia every year of forestry lands that we are losing every year as a result of galamsey and other activities, which is taking away our water bodies. And so there you have it. Look at the level.
Okay.
And look at the color of the water we're supposed to come into our homes. If you compare it to the Volta River, it's completely different.
Okay. So this is colorless, the other one is colorful. All right,
well,
thank you very much. Now, let's broaden the discussion further by bringing in some stakeholders here. Joining us through Zoom is let's try and then talk about, but what you just saw us do there is the fact that the Volta River is clear, but the tunnel and the river body they're mentioning are all colored now. All right then. Exactly.
So let me change it and just look at it. So brown versus the other color that we actually saw in the other picture.
Okay. All right then. So that is fine there. Now let's see. Ben Ampuma is immediate past Executive Secretary of the Water Resources Commission. He is with us here. Uncle Ben, thank you very much for agreeing to speak to us. Where are we in terms of pollution of water bodies? Why do we have more pollution in the west-south?
Come again, there's some noise in the...
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, but I'm asking, where are we in terms of pollution of our water bodies, and why do we have more pollution in the west-south of the country?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for having me. Basically, it's like the gentleman that you were speaking with mentioned. The southwestern systems, we have 3 river systems in the country. We have the Volta, which takes about 70% of our water resources, or contributes 70% of our water resources. And then we have the southwestern system, which is made up of the Pra, the Tano, and Kubra, and then the Bia basins, river basins. That takes about 22%. Then we have the coastal river systems, the Densus, the Yensus, the Chinakwa, and what have you. And they take the remaining 8%. Now, direct to your question. The southwestern systems, or the southwestern system, is where we have most of the gold or minerals. So by extension, that is where there's a lot of mining, and of course we witness this level of illegal mining. So basically that's why we have the problem. When you take the Volta, for instance, we don't have much mining especially in terms of gold within the water system, except some sections of the northern upstream sections within the white water and then the black water, but that's quite minimal. So basically, it's the southwestern systems where we have, which is much more gold endowed, where we have this illegal mining very dominant.
Okay.
And that is basically the reason. I mean, if you have irresponsible mining, then and water is a major component in mining. So that's the situation. And even in terms of the river channels themselves, we have a lot of alluvial mining, which is not allowed. And because there's a lot of gold within the river channels and the river systems. Okay. So the illegality, continues, even though that is not allowed.
How close are we to, a tussle with Ivory Coast over how we are polluting their water bodies?
Oh, okay. In 2017, we had that problem with Cote d'Ivoire. Because you see, we share the beer and then the tunnel with Cote d'Ivoire. We are the most upstream, we are the upstream country and they are downstream. And it serves a lot of their communities in terms of water supply, just like the FRA also serves Cape Coast, Takoradi, etc. Now, our activities in terms of illegal mining has a direct impact in terms of pollution of their source. And indeed, in 2017, they had cause to complain. And we had to actually sit down to, as it were, resolve the matters in terms of the fact that some of their systems had to close down and they needed water to supply to their communities. Currently, as we speak, the stability values of the beer, especially is quite high. And the level of pollution, by extension, is also quite worrying. So it is important that we address this situation in order not to go to the early 2017, situation where they had to come and complain for us to sit down and try to resolve the issue. Okay. We need to address it before it gets out of hand.
Thank you very much, Uncle Ben. Let me now move on to bringing a small-scale miner who is based in Prestea, David Anthony Nokose. Thanks, Chairman, for joining us. Why are we still seeing this level of devastation? Can you unmute so we can hear what you're saying? Your microphone is mute, so can you unmute so that we can hear what you're telling us? I'm trying to find out from you, since you are on the field every day, why are we still seeing this level of devastation on our lands? Okay, all right. So we've lost him there. When we get him, we'll bring him back. We're still talking about how we are destroying our water bodies from illegal small-scale mining and how we can solve it. We're talking to stakeholders in this field to understand what must be done to change the course of where we are headed. There's pollution of Tano and Bia rivers, and Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are on the verge of a water boundary dispute. Now, Dr. Abdul Wadud Mumin, a senior lecturer and head of the Department of Sustainable Mineral Resource Development at the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Chiang. Doc, thanks for your time. What is really wrong with our fight against Galamsey?
And thank you very much, Kojo, and good evening to all your audience and viewers out there in Ghana. And I bring it to you greetings from Bonn in Germany. Now, to your question, the major problem with the fight against Galamsey in Ghana, I mean, illegal mining in Ghana, is transparency, lack of transparency and monitoring.
Okay. So we are not, the Minerals Commission and all the other stakeholders are not monitoring enough. That's what. So from your perspective, what ought to be done to reverse the trend?
Well, reversing the trend might not just be feasible, but I will say actually addressing the trend, reducing the expansion of illegal activities and their negative impacts on our water resources as well as even land resources. And so we actually need real-time monitoring, and real-time monitoring gives a certain level of transparency to the fight. For instance, if you followed our discussions at the 2-day transformational dialogue we hosted last week, the university gave a proposal, and the proposal is that we actually need a real-time satellite monitoring of the country, especially the areas that we all know that are well endowed and also host most of these illegal mining activities. But first of all, I have to try to actually remove the misconception in many of the public misconception about small-scale mining in the country. We have small-scale miners and we also have illegal miners. And it is not all small-scale miners that are illegal miners, right? And if we have illegal miners, you know, everything that is done illegally is done in a haste. And anything that is done in a haste is not done properly. But if we have the small-scale mining sector actually formalized in mainstream under regulation, proper regulation, and then we are able actually to, our proposal, as I talked to you about, we titled the proposal, the will and the bill. If we are willing to actually address the issues of small-scale mining in the country, let's get ready to settle the bills for actually proper governance and monitoring. And what does that mean? And we need to actually run space technologies that can actually enhance the monitoring feats of the small-scale mining activity, especially the illegal ones that pollute outer bodies. Not only the illegal ones. I give you a scenario. In the Bibiani area, a small-scale miner with a license, who possessed a license, was actually arrested for polluting a water body. That is just around the areas that Mr. Mpoma has actually told us about, and we are showing these areas. And this miner actually possesses a license and operates about 200 meters away from the main river body, and was actually polluting the river drainage, the main basin. And when he was arrested and stopped from operations, then he also gave a signal that, how about the one who is actually operating closer to about 50 meters away from the river and is illegally operating, and you are not arresting me, and I have a license and you are arresting me. So the security went closer, got to the side of the illegal operator, who was actually operating 50 meters away from the river, and he was actually not polluting the water. Okay. He was operating illegally, and yet his operations had no negative impact on the water. He was able to mine responsibly. So if we can actually cut the difference between these operators, then it is all about monitoring. And if we can monitor on a real-time basis, everybody would be abreast with who mines, who pollutes the water bodies. Is it small-scale miners or just illegal miners? Okay. Illegal miners not necessarily pollute water bodies. We have irresponsible miners who are not closely monitored on a daily basis. So we proposed as a university that leveraging on the fact that our capacity with the satellite receiver station that we have on our campus, our university, which we call the Earth Observation Satellite System, we can provide on a daily basis and a weekly basis the level of contamination, even including the large-scale mining operators. Okay. I remember sometime. Okay.
Doc, I'm grateful. I think you've brought in a lot of things we need to do to change that trend. Let me now bring in a small-scale miner who's based in Pristia, David Anthony Nokose. Thank you for your time, sir. I want to find out from you, because you are on the field every day, why are we still seeing this level of devastation? Okay, so let's move on to other stories.